Happy Tailgate Tuesday, everybody. Idle Zone Syndicate time on a Tuesday evening. Matt Noth just squeaking in ahead of Jack Graves. I see that Mr. Crank did not play this week, which is certainly more fair. Guys, what's going on?
Not much. It's another beautiful day.
So, we joke about Crank and I living out here in the Pacific Northwest. And
West for sure.
It feels like Seattle, man. 4:30 this afternoon, it was 74 degrees and raining.
Yep. I was at soccer practice getting rained on.
Nice.
We've had 4 inches of rain this week, and it's Tuesday. All coming your way.
I think Kiki's had quite a bit of rain. It's been north of us. We haven't had that much.
Yeah, we're wet. The grass is green again, so
Beautiful.
Time to mow again.
Ours is brown.
Lucky.
Yeah.
If it's brown, you don't have to mow it.
That's right. I was mowing it, or should have been mowing it before I went on vacation twice a week, but it was more like baling. More like baling. But
Well, these guys did not come in tonight to listen to us ramble about the lawn.
no.
We have a really cool guest, and I was late to pre-show, so I didn't get to visit with him at all. Cool dude. I'm looking forward to this visit.
Me too.
Who's doing the intro?
well, by all means, Danny. By all means.
So, in preparation today, the last few weeks, we have had some up in the air issues about who was going to be able to be on. So I thought, well, I'm just going to double check. And I'm reading this cat's bio on the MLF site. And I believe MLF includes bass monies and victories and things in their stats. Am I correct?
I think so.
Okay.
Most of it.
Finished in the top 20 in half of the BASS events he fished in an 8-year stint with bass. Finished in the money 79% of the time.
Whoa.
10 career wins, 63 top 10s, 80 top 20s, 3.2 million in career earnings to this point.
It's not bad.
Those were numbers that really spoke to me, especially the 79% part, because that's just unbelievable. That's testimony to preparation and faith and all things positive. So welcome tonight, guys. Ott DeFoe.
Howdy, howdy. How are y'all doing?
Hey, Ott.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Glad to have you. John's off screen again. Dadgummit.
His camera keeps glitching. There he goes.
I don't know what's going on. I got to quit messing with stuff.
We have to quit touching things. That's what us guys with gray hair do. We touch things and mess them up.
That's right.
Well, I ain't far from you, so yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Where are you at?
I'm at home, sitting on the back porch. As y'all were talking about how much it's been cutting the grass out your way. I don't think we've had quite as much rain, but we've had enough. I guess that cloud seeding stuff is working. But yeah, we've definitely been getting a good steady dose of rain, enough to keep everything very green and needing to be cut a lot for sure. That is for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a very wet spring,
Hmm.
and then it was dry for about a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks. Maybe 2 weeks. And now, I mean, we're not getting it here at Grand, but they're getting it just north of us a
Hmm.
little bit. So it's been a crazy, crazy year.
Yeah.
Crazy
Yeah.
year.
Yeah. No, that's Edwin's told me about it. Being out that way and where his pecan farm is and stuff, and man, he's been fighting it out there big time.
Yeah. So let's talk about Ott. You're having a pretty good year. I mean, you just won the Potomac a
Hmm.
few weeks back. That was quite the exciting event. I thought it was pretty cool, actually.
Yeah.
I,
I
I'm
thought I thought it was pretty cool myself.
yeah, I bet. I bet.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it was. That was a fun event. This last one up here at Saginaw stings a little bit because that honestly, like, I mean, I didn't have a great tournament there, finished in the 40s or something. But my biggest disappointment isn't that I missed a check or that I didn't make a cut or that I didn't win a tournament. My biggest disappointment is that I didn't catch any more fish. Like,
Yeah.
everybody was just catching the snot out of fish, and I didn't do a very good job of it. You don't go to those places a lot, and where we just catch them and catch them and catch them, and when you do, I just hate missing out on the fact that I've missed out on the fun.
Right.
I got to have a lot of fun at Potomac and made the most of it there for sure. So I hated to go to another place that was so good, and the weights were even better than they were at the Potomac, and I just didn't get to take my part in it. But yeah, the Potomac was awesome. That was, honestly, to my knowledge, the first top 10 I've ever had on a tidal water fishery. I've gotten a check on a bunch of them, get a check on them most of the time, but I don't know that I had ever made a top 10 on one. I truly always thought I should,
Mm-hmm.
just given that they're practically always shallow water events and
Yeah.
usually power fishing kind of stuff. But thankful that I made the most out of my first tidal top 10.
Did the tide play a big part in that tournament, or was it, did it not? I guess.
Yeah, it always does, and it's always about what's interesting. And this, I'm trying to think of last year may have been the first. I feel like last year was the first year we fished a tidal fishery on the BPT, if I remember right. We went a long time. I think last year was the first year we fished a tidal fishery on BPT when we fished at the James River. We fished the one at the Chowan River, but that place truly doesn't have a tide where we were at on it. So wind affects it, but it's really not tidal. So James River was the first true tidal water experiment, and every fish counts on tidal water and score tracker on tidal water. And if you talk to anybody about tidal water fisheries, they're like, "Oh man, you got to be in the right place at the right tide, or you're not going to catch anything." Well, what you see on score tracker is that fish are caught all day by somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Now they may be on this part of the river, or they may be right over there, but somebody's catching them all day.
Yeah.
So that whole thing of the only biting certain windows on the tide is crazy talk, because they're biting somewhere all the time. And
Right.
so, realizing that when we went to the Potomac this year, yes, tides matter, and there's windows that open here and they open there, and when you're doing this or you're doing that, this presentation's working on this, that presentation's working then. But it ain't the kind of thing where, oh man, the fish just ain't biting now because the tide ain't right. No, they're biting somewhere doing something. You're just not in the somewhere or doing the something. So, that was one thing that, and I'm no good at doing the running the tides thing where you try to follow this wind up or down the system. I need to just get in an area and figure out how to catch them when the tide's doing this or the tide's doing that. And that was what I was able to do in this tournament. And just I adjusted small within that area and was able to make those adjustments on the trolling motor and with bait selection, basically.
And what were those little adjustments that you made that made a big difference?
Yeah, the big thing was, where I was fishing back the back end of this one major creek arm, and if you imagine you've got let's call it like a real creek in the back, where you've got two banks and you've got a legit creek. Well, then it comes out, then it kind of dumps into the flat, and that flat was like pad fields, and it, at high tide, call it full pool. At high tide, it's all up in them pad fields. There's water. You can't get a fish. You can't get your boat to where the fish are. But what you can do is you can go up in that creek a lot further than you can when it's low tide. So you can access other water up here where you still got confined banks. So the fish can't. It's no different than going to Grand. And once I kind of really understood this and everything that was working for us at this point in time, fish were really wanting to be in those creeks. It's not always this way. It's not always quite that simple, but fish were wanting to be in this area anyway. But just like at Grand, the lake comes up, it floods 10 foot. You go up, and don't say anything about it because we've got a tournament there next year, but you go up to these places and it goes forever back in these bushes and you just can't even get to the fish. Well, there's fish there, but you can't catch them. But you go over here where you've got some steeper banks and you can still get to a hard bank. Well, you can still get a bite because you can still get to where the fish are. It's exactly the same process in this deal. So when the water was up, I could access places that I couldn't otherwise, but I still kind of had to get to a hard edge. Think of it just like that of a flooded lake kind of situation, where then once the tide would drop and it would get so low and those pad fields would start, all the water would start sucking out and there wasn't enough water up in them, those fish then became kind of accessible. And they'd kind of start pulling back out to the edges of that and where you had a little bit of depth. And then it got to where you could catch fish doing that. So it was, 200, 500 yard adjustments within that area. I wasn't having to run 5 miles to make those adjustments. I was able to make those adjustments within the same creek, within the same area.
And how much did it change, like each day? Like I've never fished a tidal fishery, so I don't, I just know what I've heard. So you gotta, each day it's different.
Correct. Yeah. So every day your tides get 50 minutes later. So if it's high tide at 8 a.m. today, high tide is 8:50 tomorrow, and then it'd be 9:40 the next day, and then 10:30 the next day. So it changes 50 minutes every day, and your tide from high to low is like a 5.5 ish 6 hour, difference in high tide to low tide. So, so that wave of water just shifts 50 minutes every day throughout the course of the event. So the biggest thing that I feel like I noticed is that, a particular tides, because then you still have daylight don't change 50 minutes every day.
Right.
That morning bite or whatever, where fish are really biting a buzzbait first thing in the morning at daylight. Well, if that tide changes too much and the water's even higher right at that time, where you're catching them at a low tide on a buzzbait, well, then a couple days later, well, that low tide is much later in the morning and you're fishing an outgoing, that bite may not really be there because it was kind of a double-edged sword. It was a daylight plus a low tide, so then you may have to adjust your bait to still capitalize on that. So there's a lot of moving parts to it, and you can really make it a lot harder, I think, sometimes than you need to. But yeah, it is an interesting thing to try to figure out.
I think I can't speak for everybody, but that's what we all love about fishing.
Mm-hmm.
I think is just trying to figure out that green fish or brown fish and how everything affects them,
Yeah.
and just so you can catch as many as you possibly can.
Yeah.
Especially in the BPT, where you're trying to catch as many as you possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like that.
Yeah.
So let's go way back.
Okay.
Is there a time when you were a kid that you realized you wanted to be a professional fisherman, and who got you started, and how did you get started, I guess?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. No, I realized. I mean, I went to the Bassmaster Classic and 1996, the George Cochran one. It was right before. I guess that would have been right before my 11th birthday. I was born in '85, so yeah, that would have been right before my 11th birthday. Went to that Bassmaster Classic. It was in Birmingham, and watched him win that tournament. And I mean, that was it. Like 10 years old, I knew I wanted to be, a pro bass fisherman. There was nothing else in my mind. No other goal. There was no plan B, nothing else. That was it. From then on, and we took a family trip later that fall, that September or October. Might have been, I think it might have even been the next September, where we went down to Lake Okeechobee, fished for a week or so, and I can remember, being there as a kid, and we were out at the boat in the evening at Rolla Martin's Marina, down there, and we'd hired a guide and stuff. We were getting our stuff ready for the next day, and some other guys were there fishing. They're like, "Oh, you boys like to fish, blah, whatever." And I'm gonna be a pro one day. Boy, you don't know what you're saying. You don't know just how hard work that is. That's a hard job. It seems like fun. That's what I'm gonna do. And so yeah, no, I can remember at a really young age that was certainly my desire.
And then, so how did you get there? What did you fish to get where you're at?
Yeah, fished lots of local tournaments. Fished with my dad a lot. As I got older, my brother and I fished. I've got a brother that's a couple years older, like I said, and I've got a brother that's quite a bit older as well. But fished with my brother Sonny a good bit. But Jason Nichols is a guy here in Knoxville area that I fished with a lot from the time I was 12 or 13, something like that. We started fishing a lot of team tournaments together. We fished the East Tennessee Bass Anglers. That was a club here in Knoxville. And once I was old enough to go into the draw, and that they draw, boater on boater, or there were a few guys who fished as a non-boater in those, but fished that for a long time. And when I was 16, started fishing BFLs. When I was 18, started fishing the EverStart series back then. And that was where I really kind of got a taste of really stepping up at bigger events and traveling a little bit more, was in those EverStarts. And then 2006, so I was 20, and actually after the season was over with was when I turned 21. But that was the first year I fished the FLW series. It was the first year they had that, which it was a 5 tournament series that year, kind of a in between the EverStarts and the FLW Tour at the time. They had that deal there for a little bit, and then the FLW Tour in 2007 was the first year that I fished like a full tour professional level kind of thing. I fished there for 4 years before 2010 was the first year I fished the Bass Opens and qualified for the Elite Series my first year, and started fishing the Elite Series from 2011. through 18, and then been on the BPT since its inception in 2019. But yeah, that time getting started, FLW was that first year that I fished the Ever Start series. I signed up to fish those, and I tried to sign up to fish the Bassmaster Opens back then. It might have been invitationals. Might have been invitational still. Even then, I was like number 200 on the waiting list, so I didn't have any sponsored deal to to get into those. They had a full field, and I was like, well, FLW is my path going forward at this point in time. It really didn't matter to me. I was wanting to fish something, and I had I was able to get into the door on the FLW fold at that point in time, and just honestly kind of took that as that was God's plan for it at that point in time, and every step that I took moving up a rank at a time when I did, I always tried to wait until I qualified for that next level. Even back then, I could have signed up, especially once I had owned a Ranger boat, I could sign up for the FLW tour. Anybody could have, and probably have gotten in if they were a Ranger boat owner. But I wanted to wait till I was qualified, because I feel like once I had earned a priority position, I took that as God saying, okay, this is the criteria that qualifies you for it. And at that point in time, that's when you're ready to take that leap of faith, So that was kind of, for Jenny and I, that was what we talked about and prayed about. And, once those steps opened up, I didn't ever try to outrun them. Once those steps opened up, that was when I would move up like that.
Was there a certain tournament or a moment along the way where you said, yeah, I can do this, or, I can compete with these guys. I can do this as a living. Truly, you wanted to do it, but was there a moment that really defined that, hey, I can do this?
Yeah, I had the ones that defined when I could, and the ones that made me think, I don't know if I am. So here's a little bit of both. So when my very first year on the Ever Starts, our first tournament of the year was at Okeechobee. And like I mentioned, we took a family trip there as a kid. It's the coolest place on earth. I mean, as a 12-year-old kid, to go with a guide, I was like, we caught a bunch of fish. And so my first big tournament, my debut, you could say, is on Okeechobee, and I'm excited. I mean, man, it's January. We're leaving Tennessee. My dad was practicing with me back then. We go down there and practice for 5 days. Weather's great. Of course, first day of the tournament, it's cold front, the north wind, and all the things. And I have no idea how that's going to affect them. Long story short, there was 200 people in the tournament. I beat 13 of them. So I came home to Tennessee, tail tucked between my legs, and I was working for my father-in-law at that point in time, and we were doing remodeling and construction and stuff, and we had a basement job we were doing. We didn't do the masonry work, but somebody had done the masonry work on this deal, and it needed tarred, black tar rolled on it to waterproof it. That was my job. So it was getting in there in the overdig, rolling tar up and down that concrete. And I think it got more on me than I did the wall. And he said, I bet you catch more fish in the next tournament. And next tournament was at Lake Eufaula. And after 2 days, I was leading it. And that was a moment where it was like, it went from, what in the world am I doing here, to, okay, maybe I just don't like Florida so much, to really kind of turn that around. And that was 2004. But then really a couple years later, my first year on the FLW series went decent. There was, like I said, 5 tournaments in that. The entry fee was pretty low for what it was. I think it was like $2,500 or something. But 50 places got 10 grand, and I think I ended up getting two checks in that year. I believe it was There might have been 3. I might have got 3 checks in that season. So 130 and spent 15 or something. So made a little bit. 2007, my rookie year on FLW Tour, got a check in like 4 of the tournaments, made the Forestwood Cup. So had a year, made just a little bit of money there. It wasn't great, but fishing was paying for fishing. Working for my father-in-law when I was home, and somewhere around in that time is when I started working for the trucking company. But fishing was paying for fishing, and I was working at home 40, 50 hours a week to pay the rest of the bills. Well, starting 2008, I was like, man, I want to fish as much as I can. I actually signed up for the FLW Tour and the FLW Series, and I was going to fish a couple ever starts here and there. Started the year off, and I was about 4 tournaments in and hadn't got a check yet. And then, in this time, I didn't have no sponsors paying much of anything. And, funds was getting pretty tight. And we were at a tournament on Lewis Smith in Alabama, FLW Tour, early April. And back then, it had like a 16-inch size limit, if I remember right, on Lewis Smith. And I go out the first day, and I caught 2. And it wasn't great. I think 13 pounds was leading, and my 2 for 4 pounds had me in 80th or 90th place. 50 to get a check, but out of 200, like 150 or 200, it was a tough tournament, especially to be there that early in the year. And coming back to the camper, that evening, and Jenny's like, I could just tell she was not in a good place, and she's like, well, we have enough money to pay the credit card bill and probably get to the next tournament, and then we're out of money at that point. And I was never
No pressure though.
No pressure. Oh no pressure. But I was never going to take a loan, to fund my fishing career. I wasn't going to put us in debt to do this. It had always paid its own way, and so like, man, what I don't know what we're going to do. She's like, well, do you think this is what God wants you to do? I said, yeah, I truly do. She said, well, get your butt out there tomorrow and catch some fish. I said, yes, ma'am. And so went out the next day, and I caught, I think the biggest bag of the day, had 12 or 13 pounds, and ended up jumping to 40th place and got a check. And so that was one of those, hallelujah moments. Mm-hmm. And then we had to ever start the next week at Santee Cooper, and I went to that and actually won it and won $25,000. And then we had another FLW Tour the following week at Lake Norman in North Carolina, and it was a bigger one, and I finished 15th in it or something and won another $15,000. So I went from almost broke to in 3 weeks' time I'd won $45,000 or something. And was able to keep it rolling from there. But that was one of those that just God showed His power in that. If it was supposed to be, He could make it happen.
So you've mentioned several times now, your faith. How much does that play in your daily, everyday, doing what you do? How much does that basically control what you do?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. My faith in the Lord, that's, Jesus Christ is the only hope any of us have in this life. We all know that our time here is going to end. We don't have to, look too long or hard to realize that what we're enjoying right now is temporary. We're going to spend eternity somewhere, and Jesus Christ is where my hope is in that. But for me, it's a part of my daily life, and it's what I found out early in my fishing career was I looked up to guys. For one, as a kid, I looked up to guys like Jay Ellis and some of the other pros, Hank Parker, who were very open about sharing their faith, and that they were using their platform and their ability as a professional angler to reach people for Christ. And I always thought that was a really neat thing. I just really respected those guys for that. I had no desire to do that personally. I wanted to be a pro bass fisherman because I wanted to be a pro bass fisherman. But when I started fishing FLW Tour and started attending some of the focus meetings and hearing some of those guys speak and hearing the desire behind it to realize that fishing wasn't just about having a cool job, that it was a God-given ability for these men to be able to open doors to share their faith with people who otherwise might not ever listen to, to the message about Jesus Christ, and that he's the salvation that we all need in our life. So once I saw that and saw these guys share their faith and do that, I began to realize that my desire in fishing that I had from a really young age, my abilities in fishing, that all that was a God-given talent, God-given abilities, God-given desire. But he didn't just give it to me to use to have a cool job. He gave it to me to be able to spread his word for other people. So that was where the shift kind of came for me, that it was less about me getting to have a cool job and provide for my family. That there was a much bigger purpose in it.
I think we all have that.
We absolutely do.
I think there's something that is given to all of us as a gift, and some people have found it, some people haven't.
Yeah.
Some people it's about writing,
Yeah.
lifting people up.
Mm-hmm.
Some people it's about singing.
Yeah.
Which I believe is my God-given talent.
Mm-hmm.
And why do I love to do it at church? Because that's my gift.
Yeah.
And I'm given that and that passion.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're a writer or a mechanic,
Yeah.
that's your talent.
That's right.
Or a fisherman or whatever you are.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. That's we're all parts of the body of Christ once we've come to Christ, and we're, as it says, if every part was an eye, where would the sense of smell be? So that's where we're not all supposed to have the same gifts. We're not all supposed to have the same talents. We're all here to make up the whole body, because I can't carry a tune in a bucket. So I'm very glad that people can.
Amen. All right. So you just came from Saginaw, and the north is cool fishing. I mean, I just got back from Iowa, where I've spent a week fishing with my grandkids, and I didn't want to come home.
Yeah.
Because the north is just, my favorite place in the world to fish is Minnesota. These guys have heard me say that many times. So I understand if you're not catching them up there, that it could be frustrating.
Yeah.
What do you think? Why do you think you didn't catch them very good up there?
Yeah, for me, I had found some good areas in practice, but I ended up sharing some of it in the tournament, and then it was kind of one of those deals where some of the stuff I found I thought was better than it was, but honestly, I think having to share some of it and split it up the way that I did, and then it was one of those kind of things where I only had a couple areas that I felt like really, really had potential. And then it was one of those deals where once you got behind, it was kind of scary to just go blind looking for something, because everybody was catching them so fast. It's like I was kind of just hanging around enough, and I had a bad first day as far as landed fish. Like had I've landed, I didn't really lose that many. I just missed a lot of bites the first day. I'm saying a lot of bites, like, I don't know, should have easily had another 30 pounds, and I had 47. So, I would have been up there really easy in the top 20. So it wasn't like I was in a bad place. I just didn't do a very good job.
Yeah.
So then it's like, well, why do I need to go anywhere else? I just need to go back here and just do a better job. But, things just kind of didn't. One of those, it was really easy for it to snowball there and get away from you. And they, I want to say they weren't extremely easy to find, but once you found them, they were pretty easy to catch. So it just kind of got away from it. I'm gonna run over here and flip this outside light on just a second. It's getting
All right.
darker by the second.
The north fishing is amazing.
Yes, indeed.
I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy.
I just said goodbye to my father-in-law that's headed to Canada tomorrow. So
Oh yeah, he's gonna have a ball.
I said
Yeah.
pictures or it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Where are they going in Canada?
I wished I knew. I'm not. I'll know when he gets back. This is his first trip up there, and he's 60 years old. So
He'll have a good time.
He's gonna have a blast.
Yeah.
I know I rigged 2 spinning reels for him and a bait caster and sent him on his way. So
All right. So where were we? We were talking about
the bass factory.
Saginaw.
Yeah.
So that I always had a question about. So you talked about sharing. So do you share, like if you're in group A and Edwin's in group B, are you guys sharing, to try to make it to the knockout round or whatever?
Yeah. So the nice thing is, for one, we don't. This was the first year we don't have the Group A, Group B, which is so good. We all fish Thursday, Friday, Saturday's top 20, Sunday's the top 10. So I love the fact that we finally got away from that Group A, Group
Shows
B.
how much I've been paying attention.
But it's wonderful that we do, because it's that was just, man, it's a hot mess, and it made the week so long.
Yeah.
It was terrible. So I'm so glad we got away from that. But yeah, to your point, Andy, Edwin, and myself, we've roomed together for several years. We do our After the Cast series, and so as competitors, we can share everything about fishing except a specific location. Now, defining a specific location is, obviously a waypoint's a specific location.
Yeah.
If you say this dock in this creek, blah, 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 that's a specific location. But that's what we can't share is a specific location. But we can talk, man, Muddy Creek has been good. The dirtier water went in there, blah, blah, all those kind of things. And yes, we do. We talk about fishing, and we try to help each other. We try to help each other in a way that doesn't hurt each other.
Mm-hmm.
So, most of the places we go, they're big bodies of water. If you get on a pattern, throwing a spinnerbait on windy points, it's typically plenty of water for everybody to go do that and not overlap on each other. So that's the ultimate goal, is to try to help each other in a way that doesn't hurt each other.
Yeah.
Sometimes smaller fisheries are, a really specific pattern. Obviously that can kind of be difficult to do, but we do. We try to help each other, because one of those kind of deals, 3 heads are better than one most of the time. And, that's kind of the way we go about it.
Did Edwin share that he was catching them on a buzzbait?
We did not. I mean, Edwin and I had told Edwin I was getting a lot of bites on a buzzbait. I truly don't know if Ed was throwing that little bitty one in practice, because I've been throwing a 1/4 ounce one. But I don't know that it would have been as good in practice, that little bitty one. That was kind of a deal, I feel like, that materialized in the tournament, because we had that place is up there at Saginaw, major wind tides. It lays kind of northeast, southwest. In practice, we had a northeast wind blowing into the bay, and it'll raise that water on the south end a foot, and it'll dirty it up, and it'll really change things. And that's kind of what we had in practice. You could have threw a jitterbug, you could whopper plop or anything. You could have threw something, made all kinds of racket, and they would have bit it. Well, in the tournament, it kind of got calm, and we even got a south and southwest wind that really blew that water back out a little bit. It got lower. It got really, really clear. and that deal of that little buzzbait he was throwing really materialized in the tournament. You know, I kind of feel like, but after the first day, yeah, I mean that evening when we come in, because I had fished around Edwin some a little bit that first day. I was like, man, what in the world were you throwing? Because he was just cleaning my clock. He's like, no, just a little bitty buzzbait, you know. So, but the one other part with that, on the water during competition, we cannot talk fishing whatsoever. So, you know, in bass and everything else we used to fish, like you run into somebody on the water, hey man, where you catch them on? I'm throwing it. We cannot do that in BPT. We can, after the tournament's over with, after the line's out, we can talk it, but during competition, you cannot talk fishing whatsoever. You know, so that's kind of a unique thing that we have.
You know, I kind of, for some reason or another, like the last few years, you guys have went to some bass factories.
Yeah.
And a tournament that comes to my mind, similar to the Saginaw Bay, was Table Rock a few years ago.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the lakes around here that a lot of our listeners can kind of relate to a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But you guys were absolutely destroying them.
Yeah.
And real quick and in a hurry fashion. Can you kind of, you know, where you were at, if I'm not mistaken, was kind of a place that I hold pretty near and dear to my heart, a certain area of the lake. Can you kind of explain, like, how in the world you found that? Did you, you know, have you been in that area before?
Mm-hmm.
And can you tell everybody here that waypoint?
I don't remember. I don't have the numbers memorized to it, but
Good answer.
yeah, I mean, up the Jane, we fished. The funny thing with that, you know, we were supposed to fish there in May, I believe it was, like an early May tournament, and then we had about a month off, a couple weeks off or something. Then we were actually supposed to go to Grand, but Grand was so flooded that we ended up fishing Table Rock again. We ended up fishing 2 tournaments back to back on Table Rock. But anytime I fish Table Rock, I have fished in Long Creek some. I fished up the White a little bit, but the James River arm reminds me so much of Cherokee Lake here. Like the way it lays, you know, especially going up the river at Cherokee, you've got one side of the bank will be a steep channel bank, and another side's kind of a taper and flat. Could be gravel, could be mud, whatever. But once you get up there, you know, above that marina on the left, is that Cape Fair Marina maybe? Once you get up to there, and there's that island with the little cut through deal in it. Once you get to about right in there, man, from there to the end of it is just like you go up here to Cherokee and you go 6 or 8 miles above 25E Bridge. You could, I mean, they're almost exactly the same. So it to me is just like at home, and I completely understand it. It's, you know, I understand what the fish should be doing, kind of how they're going to move around, that kind of stuff. So that's why I like that part of the lake up there so well. And in the first one we fished there, a lot of the fish were still spawning. There was a shad spawn going on, and a lot of fish were still spawning. And then when we fished there, you know, a couple weeks or a month, I don't remember exactly what the difference was later. I'm assuming a lot of them same fish there was still a little bit of a shad spawn going on, but a lot of those fish had pulled out, and you know, we're starting to get out offshore and that kind of stuff. And that the second one, man, that one really burns me because I really feel like that one was mine to win. But the first leg of that tournament, everything up till championship day, we fished from noon to 8 p.m. It was, I don't know if you remember that or not, but it was like an evening tournament.
It was definitely odd.
Huh?
It was odd.
It was odd. It was so odd, but dude, it was incredible. I mean, the fishing was unbelievable. You know, you get to that 4, 5, 6 o'clock in the evening, and you know how it is early in the summer, dude. Those fish are just absolutely chewing. And that was one where I was catching them offshore, catching a lot of them cranking, same on a bucktail and stuff. And my first period in that tournament was always my worst. You get to that last period, and dude, I would be catching one every cast most of the time it lines out.
You were cracking them.
It was so fun. And but the championship day, they changed it to like 6:30 takeoff, and you know, lines at the end of the day was at 2:30 or 3 o'clock, which was when I would actually start catching fish. And Jacob Wheeler, of course, won that one, as he does almost all of them. But that I truly felt like I got robbed out of that tournament because of the time change. I don't even remember what the reason was now. It's irrelevant. But whatever the time change was while we had to, on that last day, that it wasn't another noon to 8, because I had that evening bite. I had it working for me.
So if you don't want to, it's fine. But river bend with a hard spot on it, was there foundations on that?
Not that I know of. I don't remember ever seeing any foundations. Like I caught them. I mean, it was any kind of hard spot or anything out there, but I was just using side imaging more than anything to see schools of bass.
Okay.
I don't remember any foundations in particular. Though I truly only had 2 places, two or three places that I feel like were a little bit kind of weird, kind of not just like an outside point or a big major point that came out that had a school of fish on it. I had 2 or 3 places that were on kind of inside stuff that wasn't the stuff that you'd look at on Lake Master and be like, oh yeah, this all, somewhere on this deal should be a school of bass. I had 2 or 3 places that were like that, but a lot of the stuff I had, in my opinion, looked like it should be community hole kind of stuff. But I did have 2 or 3 places that had fish on it that were, you're just kind of idling a flat with side imaging, and then find a group of fish.
That's a really neat stretch of river, from Cape Fair up that you described. I got an opportunity to spend a few days up there last November, and yeah, it's just one of a kind of a unique part of the lake that it does get a fair amount of boat pressure, I think, but it's
yeah. And that was, to your point, you asked about fishing. It was the first time I ever fished Table Rock. It was the Everstart Championship in November, and I made a top 10 finish, finished 4th or 5th in it, and it was up there. And it was a deal where first I only caught 5 keepers, but I had 14 pounds, which is a good bag in the fall. And the next day I caught 15 keepers and had 14 pounds. And then, ended up catching a lot of fish the next few days, and having a good tournament in that one. But ever since then, and kind of seeing a lot of different parts of the lake, I probably will never fish Table Rock and go anywhere else, truthfully. Like it just fits the way I fish, and I understand it,
We had so much fun up there last November, man. It was incredible. The Screaming Eagles and the buzz baits, and just flipping boat docks. You could just fish around and do about what anything you wanted to do. It was fun.
Yeah, no, it's a good place, so that's for sure. Yeah.
What are you thinking about next year's schedule?
I like it. I like it overall, and that's that. Mentioned a little bit about Table Rock. They've not announced it for Red Crest yet. There was an announcement that wasn't official. That sounds like that could be where our Red Crest is.
Okay.
But so that who knows if that's what it's going to be or not. But I really like our schedule. Really like our schedule overall. It's neat. Some of the places we're going. We've got a couple of the 2 lake event deals, which I like. I enjoy that, where Knockout and Championship are on a different body of water from what the main body of water is. Kind of changes it up. I enjoy those type of events. It gives you a fresh start and stuff. But I like it overall. We're going to places that we've not had BPTs. We may have fished cups or team events or whatever else. But kind of a neat schedule overall. And Gunnersville obviously starting there. We've not had a BPT on Hartwell yet, so that's a great fishery that's had plenty of experience, but never with a every fish counts format. It's a very solid schedule we've got, I feel like.
Anywhere on the schedule you're really looking forward to or not looking forward to going?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. I do think we're ending the year at Sandusky and up in Ohio on Lake Erie. I would assume right now that'll be a trailered event. I'm not crazy about big water.
Mm-hmm.
With that one, I think that's going to be one that's going to be a deal where you guys will end up a long way away from takeoff for the most part, because it's just, there's fish to be caught there, but it's not
Yeah.
it's not Saginaw Bay by any means. So
Right.
it's not going to be quite like that. But I am excited for Grand in the summertime. I've fished there some when it's cooler, and obviously Edwin's talked about it plenty. And I think Grand in the summertime, we catch the right conditions. It could be a really fun place. And I'm excited to go both the Texas deals. We're fishing OH Ivy and Lake Brownwood as an event, and then which we had a team series down there last fall. I fished with Alton Jones Jr. and we fished those two lakes. And then we've got one that is Lake Whitney and Lake Waco, which I won a cup event at several years ago, on fishing those two lakes in that particular cup event. So I don't think Whitney is the fishery that it used to be, from my understanding. But the best day of bass fishing I've ever had in my life was on Lake Whitney, filming the Hunt for Monster Bass several years ago, and I think I caught 8 or 10 over 6 pounds that day. My best 5 was like 38. It was an unbelievable day. Now I caught a good number of fish. I mean, 20 or 25 fish or something that day. Wasn't like I caught 100 bass, but the size was just absolutely incredible. I don't think it's like that anymore, from what Alton Jr. had said. But yeah, it's a if it's part of that, it could still be pretty good. So
yeah. Have you heard? Are there going to be any changes next year to the rules or anything like that might make it different, or have you heard anything like that, or is it going to be status quo? And what do you think about the two periods with out and one period with forward facing?
Yeah,
seems to be a pretty good deal to me. I mean, as a fan
mm-hmm.
watching, I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, I definitely do. I've not heard any changes on that for us. The biggest difference last year we were 80 anglers.
Yeah.
This year we were 66. Next year it's 51. And then it will actually be 50 from there on out. But that, stepping down again in the field size to 251, and that's tough, man, because I've got longtime buddies that I fished against for long, my whole career that won't be fishing again. So that made this last tournament very, very bittersweet, just to be quite honest. I don't know any other way to put it. But yeah, that's the biggest change. I have heard no reasons as to why the one period of forward facing and 2 periods without, why there'd be any change there. I've not heard anything to that. I certainly have enjoyed that personally. As a pro, I hate banning anything that is legal. I wish it'd be fine with me if we could use an Alabama rig. I wish we could use jet boats. If it ain't against the law and it's, if it's within the law, we should be able to do it. Like, in my opinion, but I do certainly understand having guardrails around it somewhat, and forward facing is a different animal, and what it has shown to do within our industry of, limiting sales and that type of stuff. I appreciate what we've done with it to where it's not taken out. You can still use it.
Yep.
You still gotta, if it's a forward facing dominated event, you better be using it that period of the day. And then you got to catch some fish without it. But if it's kind of a meh, it works for some guys that don't for others. You can turn it off and just go fish the whole time and still be relevant, still be competitive. You know, so I have liked the balance it has brought this year within our schedule.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's done a good job with that, with the balance. And your roommate there, he said he took it off. He didn't even have it on his boat. So.
Yeah, I think that was after just one tournament too, and he would have given anything to have not had it on in that tournament.
Yeah.
You know, he truly would have. I believe 100% he would have gotten paid at Conroe in that first event had he not had it on and messed with it any.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, it almost cost me a knockout round at Conroe because I did good with it the first day, and then the second day I thought it was going to be easy, and I was catching fish without it. But the period came at the third period, and it was like, okay, I'm gonna go use this. I only need to catch a couple. All I caught was a couple, and I would have caught more than a couple if I'd have just kept fishing.
Yeah.
You know, so it about burnt me.
That's hard to do when you're, you know, when you make up your mind to try it,
Right.
and then you get sucked in.
Yep.
You know, to when you should just go back to what you were doing.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. No, it is. It makes you think differently and adjust differently and approach stuff differently. And because of it being limited, it's like, okay, if I'm going to do this, I need to maximize every minute I've got with it. Well,
Right.
like if it ain't cutting either, you need to just go back to slinging it out there, you know.
Yeah.
Help me out for just a minute here.
Okay.
I don't want to go down too far of a wormhole, but I want to try to maybe change the subject just a
Every
touch.
time he says he doesn't want to go down a wormhole, we're headed down the wormhole.
It's a wormhole.
Yeah.
It's a big.
So, you know, in today's world, it's a little bit maybe easier to learn a new technique because of social media and yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
But tell me about your past experiences and how you struggled with a technique that you found out about. How did you teach yourself, or what did you do to get better at it?
Yeah. And forward facing sonar would be a good place to start with that, because it would certainly be the most recent one. You know, it's one of those where talking to people that I trust, number one, that are good, you know, that are good with that technique is a big part of it. And this one, man, it's really one of them kind of deals where I caught some fish with it here and there, and there were times when it was so easy. And then there were times when I just could not make it work, and that's just called the pinging them in a part of it with forward facing sonar. You know, the first time that I really, really tried it and embraced it, I would say was at Red Crest at Lay Lake a few years ago. That was one of the first times that I, you know, really was set up to do it. I had everything I needed, and, you know, went out there, and it really wasn't that hard. And honestly, I mean, at that point in time, I had spent 6 or 8 days really trying to do that with the right equipment, with the right baits, electronics, all the things, top to bottom. I mean, I had the best stuff, and in 6 or 7 days of doing it, an event prior, and you know, kind of learning my graph a little bit, and then there in practice, and I just made it to the second day of the tournament. I didn't make it to the knockout round, but I got to where I could kind of tell you what was bass and how to get my bait in front of them and that kind of stuff. But then even after that, it was like, man, I'd go spells where I could catch them and I wouldn't. And then getting in the boat with somebody who is good with it, or having them in your boat. I had some buddies here that are good with it, and, you know, spent some time with them and watching them do it, and realizing that some days it ain't very easy. You know, and that was kind of a little bit eye-opening for me, because on some of those days, I was like, I could go over there and catch one, but we're still out here trying to catch a fish looking at this thing, you know. So it become one of those kind of things where it really kind of made you realize that some days you know, you can embrace something new and try to figure it out. But other times, if there's something that you're really, really, really good at, you just need to stick in with that, especially on our format. I feel like with every fish counts, it actually, I think our format allows you to be a more versatile angler than a 5-fish does, because there are sometimes some places you go, you know, this is the only way to win this tournament. You have to be doing X on this lake at this time to catch the biggest fish out there. You may not catch a lot, but this is the only way you're going to catch the big ones.
Mm-hmm.
And our deal, there's generally 2 or 3 different ways to generate a lot of bites.
Interesting.
Yeah, you might be able to. It might be a time where if you fish and catch 5 big fish, you're going to do well.
Mm-hmm.
But you can go catch 25, 2 and 3 pounders and do better.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, a lot of times in ours, the guy who catches the most, he probably had the 5 biggest too.
Yeah.
But it's not always the case. But there's almost always a lot of ways to generate a lot of bites. Saginaw Bay, for example, if it was a 5-fish tournament, everybody would have been out there trying to catch smallmouth, because you just weren't going to catch many 4-pound largemouth.
Mm-hmm.
If you went out there and fished for smallmouth, if you caught 15 or 20, you were going to have a 4-pounder or 2.
Yeah.
But you may catch 7. You may catch 15.
Mm-hmm.
But that was kind of the case. But you could stay up there in those reeds, and some of those guys show they'd catch 40.
I was shocked at what that tournament exposed for Saginaw Bay on the largemouth side.
Yeah, I knew it was going to be good going in, but it really surprised me. Like I Potomac, we fished under a 1.8 minimum. It could have easily sustained a 2-pound minimum. Going to Saginaw at a 2-pound minimum, I thought there's no way the weights are going to be good here with a higher minimum than they were at Potomac. It doesn't really, a difference in a 1.8 and a 2-pound doesn't really change the way you fish. It just changes that there's going to be less weight on Score Tracker, because those 112s don't count. So it's just going to be a lower number at the total at the end of the day is all it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, I don't see Saginaw outperforming Potomac weight-wise, but it did far and away with a higher minimum. Had it had the same minimum, it'd have been even more.
Mm-hmm.
Is what's silly. So, I didn't see that coming before we got there. It really surprised me. But I knew it'd be good. I just didn't know it'd be that good.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, Kiki, Kyle, the fishing up north is amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, I just came back from Okoboji, where I didn't catch a lot of big fish, but I was right next to a guy that caught an 8 and a 4.
Wow.
I mean, an 8 and a 6 in 4 minutes.
Wow.
And then I caught a 4.5-pound smallmouth, all off the same spot. His were largemouth.
Wow. Yeah, that's in Iowa, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
That's
Crazy.
special up there. Yeah.
Just footballs.
Yeah.
But Danny, why don't you ask a couple of those guest questions? I know you're looking at them.
I'm just going to circle back through the comments real quick. Jack Graves, who is a perennial constant guest or viewer,
Commenter.
excuse me, commenter, yes. He had a crankbait signed by you at Red Crest at Tulsa a couple years ago. He's curious if you remembered that. I'm sure you signed a few of them.
Yeah.
But he said wanted to thank you again, and he still has that OG Slim.
Awesome.
Very cool. He was curious about your favorite setup for a chatterbait.
For chatterbait, yeah. So I've kind of varied a little bit over the years, but to me, something in that 7.2, 7.3 length is kind of what I like. And I threw them on a crankbait rod, that Bass Pro had for them for a while. I threw them on that. I threw them on a graphite, but a medium, moderate or moderate fast type action. I don't want to, like, same rod I'm going to throw a crankbait on it. It needs to have a little bit more backbone than that. But I do want a moderate action where it's more of a parabolic rod, not a fast action rod. In the Carbon Light, they have a bladed jig rod in that Carbon Light Technique series. It's really, really good. I throw it a good bit for a bladed jig. But then it's the Johnny Moore Signature series. It's just a 7.2 medium. I like that rod as well for it. So I'm kind of more on the graphite, not the composite like some guys do, honestly, just because it's lighter weight, it's lighter in my hands. But something in that 7.1 to 7.3 medium, moderate type action is that's what I'm going to have it on.
Cool. I'm sitting here, I'm looking back through your bio, and the one thing that just jumps out, and I got to ask, why do you hate roller coasters?
Because I don't like heights either. So most of the time, roller coasters aren't right on the ground. I mean, I told you I don't really like big waves either. I don't like a whole lot of motion. Especially if I'm not driving the ship. So
I understand.
Yeah. Any of that combination doesn't go well together.
Well, I'm the dude that always asks the goofy questions.
All right.
They're the technical guys, and I'm the one that's, well, I mean, I got Bigfoot behind me.
Right.
So, over your career, craziest thing you've seen on screen?
On screen?
Mm-hmm. Anything, below, couldn't figure out what it was you saw on the screen?
I have seen some unique grid. I don't know any other way to describe it, but like a grid type pattern on side imaging. I've seen some really unique, some of that stuff that I truly couldn't come up with an explanation for. Seen some stuff around locks and dams that are just odd shaped structures that I guess are some part of the dam. That are really weird. I'm trying to think of anything else that really jumps out. Nothing else really comes. I'm not seeing anything on forward facing that was just really didn't have an explanation for yet. That'd probably be just some of that stuff on side imaging. You spend enough time looking at side imaging, you'll see some odd shaped stuff out there on the bottom on occasion. Of course, I've seen plenty of cars, boats. There was one particular canal I fished in Florida, and in a 100-yard stretch, there was 6 or 8 cars right around the bridge and boat ramp and stuff. There's a whole bunch of cars that I guess people run off there. I should have. I didn't realize it was such a thing at the time. I should have called the authorities and had them come check them out, because I've seen that since then, where they, people call them and they come tow them out of the water. But they may not have cared.
You kind of wonder if they had New Jersey license plates on them.
Yeah, exactly. Or just what all had happened with those cars, or whatever stuff you didn't want to find down there. That's for sure.
Cool. Okay, well, so I'm watching some of your reels.
Okay.
From the podcast today. Montgomery, he just likes to ride you, man.
Yeah.
Who's prettier, you or Andy?
Well, Andy wouldn't bring it up if he knew that there was any competition. I mean, so he has to egg it on because it's obvious that he's the loser in that, So I mean, I grow this beard to cover up a lot of ugly, and I think it does a good job. He's clean shaven, so he definitely doesn't have a chance in that. And he's so embarrassed of his feet, he'll never have his feet uncovered. So being comfortable in your own skin is a big part of it, and I definitely am.
Cool. Do you? I'm kind of bogarting the questions here for a moment.
Yeah.
This is something that I've started thinking about. This year, it seems like across the industry, we've seen more retirements
Mm-hmm.
than what we would normally see. I mean, just in this month, Shaw Grigsby, Skeet Reese the other day, and John may not even know this, but one of our past guests, Matty Wong, announced on stage at the Elite Series the other day that he's retiring from competitive fishing after the last Elite event on lacrosse.
Okay.
Have you thought about it?
Oh yeah, I've thought about it a lot. Yeah, no, I mean it's not. I'll turn 40 here next month if I make it. But yeah, no, Jenny and I have talked about it a lot, and what that, hopefully when that's going to come and when that's going to be, and all that kind of stuff. No, it's definitely in the future for sure. And where we want to be, and that's Abby is 18, the twins are 14. They just started high school. She graduated this past May. So get rid of some of these dependents around here and get them moved off on their own dime. That retirement can come sooner than later. So, but yeah, no, we do. We talk about it, and we've got a goal in our mind. As of now, of what we're working towards, and yeah, that's certainly something we dream about.
Cool.
It's kind of a hard question because you don't really know how to answer.
Yeah.
Knowing that your fans are watching.
Yeah. No,
but it's you're right. It happens to everybody.
Yeah.
Well, I jotted down, before we got on, just all the irons that you have currently in the fire, and I'm just curious to know, like, how in the world you keep up with all of them and spare enough time to even talk with us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no, that's definitely my wife's job, and scheduling and keeping all that, and that's I swapped down over here a minute ago because my phone flashed up. I've got 14% battery left, so it's telling me that. But no, that's Jenny's department is keeping me in line, keeping me where I'm supposed to be, and making sure that I'm checking all the boxes for obviously for tournaments and for my sponsors and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, her job of scheduling is a lot harder than mine. I feel like a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, you do one heck of a job at it. I can tell you that. The TV show is really awesome to watch, and just your social media, very informative and thorough, and definitely sends a clear message on your techniques of the month and different things. It's pretty awesome to watch.
I appreciate that, and we put a lot of effort into that, and that's with fishing, and we've done a good job of it here tonight. Like there's so much good in fishing, and there's so much enjoyment we should all be getting out of it.
Mm-hmm.
That there's plenty of good things to talk about with it, and that's always my goal with what we produce on anything that we do, whether it's that on the, I don't produce the TV show, but my part of being on the TV show, obviously the social media, the YouTube, everything that we control. Like I want to educate people. I want to entertain people. I want to share Jesus with people. Like that's my goal with this. Like, man, I love that there's plenty of people talk about the negatives. I love my job. Like there's from the time I was that 9 or 10-year-old kid wanting to be a pro bass fisherman, I get to do that, and I'm so thankful for that, and I want to share that with everybody else, and trying to convey that in a positive message, and show people the good things that they can enjoy out there. That's my hope for it.
And something that I hope that you never change is the colors of your jersey and your boat.
Thank you. Thank you. It's funny when I first got sponsored by Bass Pro. That was kind of the scheme they picked. Like they had their whole system, their wraps and their designs and that kind of stuff. And when I joined the team, that black, blue, and green was the color scheme they gave me. And I'm like, okay, sure. I didn't have a color scheme, and I've rocked it ever since. And I love it. Like it is definitely. I'm not black and yellow like Skeet, but that black, blue, a little bit of green, and then it's got the mossy oak pattern and stuff in it. That's
very cool.
My color scheme. Thank you. I appreciate you saying that.
Colorblind me didn't even know there was green in it. I apologize.
There's not much, but there is a little bit.
Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah.
Do you still enjoy it as much as you did in the very beginning or more?
The fishing I enjoy when the fishing's good. Let me say that. When the fishing's good, I enjoy it at least as much. I mean, not just because I won, but man, Potomac was fun. Like, and like I said, that's what I hated about Saginaw, because it was so much fun. Watching those guys on the knockout day and championship day when I was driving or when I was home. Then watching them get to pull them out of them reeds on a frog and a buzz bait and swim jig, like, oh, it's so fun. And it just irks me that I missed out on that much fun of catching fish, because all the rest of it is the work part of it. And when you get to go fishing again, you get to go to those places and enjoy it like that. It's fun. Yeah. It absolutely is.
And Kyle mentioned it. You have all these other irons in the fire that you do a great job with. Do you think that all these youngsters that are coming in right now, that all they have to do is fit, like they don't have families, they don't have TV show, they don't, a lot of them have good social media presence, but they don't have, they're just fishing.
Yeah.
And I think that has a lot to do with their success.
No question.
Does that play into your, mind, your retirement, your, how long am I going to do this? Thinking.
Yeah, it definitely does. I don't, not so much on the retirement or how long am I going to do this, but it is when you're at the stage of life where I am versus the stage of life where they are. And I was there at one point in time too. I mean, there was a couple of years in there, 2000, that would have been in like 2008, 9, 7, 8, 9, 10, maybe somewhere right in 8, 9, 10, somewhere right in there. I fished between 16 and 20 tournaments a year, right in there, between FLW Tour, FLW Series, Everstarts, Opens, PAA, Forestwood Cup, Toyota Texas, but like, I think the most I fished was like 20 or 21 a year. And those were a week-long type tournament. Those guys ain't even fishing that many, So there was
because you could.
So I could, where I was at, where Jenny and I were with the family, we had just Abby, or the twins were really little. They traveled with me all the time. We can't. I could do that. So I don't, I'm not hating on these people, these younger guys for doing that. It's just a different stage of life. There were people at my stage of life when I was doing that who weren't able to do that anymore. It just, it's kind of the natural progression. It's what you deal with. And you hope that as a more seasoned angler, even though I'm spending maybe a little less time each year on the water, that I've got all those years of knowledge that I'm able to apply going forward when I get somewhere. So it's, and it just becomes one of those things with priorities and with sponsors and family obligations. That's when I'm home, I want to be spending time with them and going to Lizzie's volleyball games and Parker's basketball games or whatever else. I still, when I go to a tournament, I'm excited to be there and I'm ready to go fishing. But when I'm home, when it's off season or in between tournaments and that kind of stuff, I want to be home and spending time with them. So, it's kind of that natural progression. Those guys that are 21, 2, 3 years old now, single, they're going to get married and they're going to have kids, and that's going to happen for them too. And 3, 5, 10 years down the road.
I think less. We've had this discussion on the show a couple times, and I think the sport is becoming more like a professional sport where the 20-year careers are ending.
Right.
You're not going to see very many of as the veterans, like the Shaws of the world and the Skeets of the world, retire. I think that time is getting shorter because it's becoming a sport. I mean,
right.
a real sport. And even the younger guys, they're not, I don't believe, and there will be an outlier here and there, but I don't believe that the younger guys are going to be around 20 years or
right.
15 or even 5, like Matty Wong. I think there's so many young, talented kids, young adults coming in, and the numbers, BPT's going down to 50, and who knows if Bassmaster ever follows through with what they said they were going to do back when I was working there, getting down to 75 or whatever. But if they ever do, that just makes the pool smaller. And I think they're going to knock each other out. There's going to be guys that stay around a little bit, but I think that number is going to be smaller and smaller as the years go by.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you, and it does. It makes it, this 2026. I look at 2006 as my first year as a pro. That year I fished that FLW series. It wasn't a full schedule. It was 5 tournaments, but that was some of the best guys. I mean, Aaron Martins and Gerald Swindle, Greg Hackney fished those, and all the FLW tour guys fished those. So I mean, it was a who's who, kind of crossbreed because of bass guys and FLW guys that were fishing them. So I consider 2006 my first year as a pro. So next year will be my 20th season. And yeah, to your point, like I feel like that where guys, Skeet, I think had fished 28 years and Kevin was at 33. Like the guys in my generation and when we came in, we will be the last ones that have that potential for a 25 to 30 year career.
Yeah, I agree with that.
For the guys of my generation, you had to be, to continue that going forward at this point, you're going to have to be one of the really high performers to have that potential. Because the ones who had that potential, because of how strong the incoming stuff has gotten in the last 4 or 5 years, it's it's pushing them out faster than ever. So yeah, I will.
Which is like a normal sport. I mean,
it is.
Your football players, your baseball player, MLB, NFL.
Yeah.
What's the average career of an NFL player? 3 years, something like that.
Yeah.
You've got your guys that hang around, quarterbacks that nobody can touch anymore. They get a stay because nobody can hit them.
Yeah, not getting beat up. The difference. Couple things with the difference with ours. The obvious one's the paycheck, but the two is because those guys are able to 3 or 5 years, they're able to retire, and if they invest their money right, they can make the rest of their life off of that. Ain't quite that way for bass fishermen, especially if you're getting phased out in 5 because you weren't performing that high anyway. So that part hurts. But the other part with it is, look at a guy who comes in through the invitational, MLF invitationals or the Bass Opens and makes it to the elites or BPT. Say he fishes at that level for 2 years, and then he makes it to the top. Well, he's ahead of the curve already. The fact that he's only been at that level for 2 years,
or 1 year, like Mr. Bank Shaw.
Yeah, or 1 year. That's the same way Drew Gill was. But those guys, they don't. Sponsors are what we depend on in our industry to truly make the ends meet. Well, that person comes on, they prove themselves, a year or two in the qualifying rank, then they're on the professional level. I tell you right now, just because you've qualified to be a professional, those companies ain't right there handing you a blank check and saying go fish. Talk about our stuff and go fish. It takes 3 or 4 or 5 years of performing year after year before you really get to a level with any sponsor to where you're truly making anything. So that is the tough part with that. If that rollover starts happening that much faster, those guys coming in, if they phase out that fast, they never get the true benefit from a sponsorship perspective to have ever made it meaningful. And again, that's kind of the thing with, I'll say that with my generation, we've been around long enough to where we have relationship with those companies, to where they know they've seen our value and are able and are willing to invest in us. I don't know what that looks like going forward if the rollover is that fast, because they're just slapping their name on the next person. It's not really good for their brands necessarily either. So it's a tough deal.
It is.
Well, you told us you had 14% on your battery about 10 minutes ago.
I'm at 6 now, so we're getting down to it.
Before we lose you, thanks for what you've done. Thanks for what you're doing, and thanks for what you're going to do, man.
Well, thank you.
It's been a pleasure watching you come up. I know I can remember you fishing your first Elite Series tournament, and I'll hopefully be around to watch you fish your last. So
yeah.
Luckily for me, I'm 3 years younger than you are.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's been like I said, God's been more than blessed my career, and just thankful to get to continue calling this a job, and hopefully I've got enough left in there till I can retire anyway. So.
Gentlemen, any closing thoughts from Mr. Ott?
Hey, Ott, next June when you're at Grand,
yes,
I'm sure you're staying at Airbnb or something. Would you go by John's place and visit with him?
Yeah,
say hi.
Absolutely.
I mean, does your Airbnb that you're going to book, do they have free ice?
Probably not.
No free ice.
No free ice.
Do they have covered, lighted boat parking with a TV?
I highly doubt it.
I'm just saying when you're booking for the group, you might check us out.
Okay, I definitely will.
You might check us out. And if you know the guys that aren't doing the Airbnb thing and that are doing the hotel thing,
yeah,
send them our way because we're the best place on Grand Lake, I believe.
Absolutely. I'm sure you're close there to Wolf Creek, huh?
We're 7 minutes from Wolf Creek. 3 turns, 3 left-hand turns out of our driveway.
Perfect.
Yep.
Three lefts, that'd be the same as one right, wouldn't
Yeah, almost.
it?
It's just longer when you go right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, man. Thanks
Absolutely.
for coming
Thank you, Paul. Yeah, I sure
Thank you.
appreciate
Thanks for
Appreciate
joining.
you having you.
it. Yeah.
Good to
Thank
see
y'all.
you.
Yeah, good to see you all too.
All right.
Awesome.
that. Yeah. Richard, if you're still on,
He does
I
still have that.
Yeah, I didn't ask your question because he kind of alluded to that during a different answer. So
He does still have it. I know that for a fact. Actually, he was on Pangrak's show about a month ago, and he was fishing out of it by his house with his son. They were having a little tournament or something between the two of them, and they were fishing, and Pangrak had him on his show live while they were fishing. It was pretty cool, actually. But yeah, he's got it. I'll say one thing about that flat bottom boat and how he wished, he'd commented that he wishes it was legal and all that. That was a big deal in the classic. We, as tournament directors at Bass, had many meetings about that boat because he wanted to use it. He wanted to use it, and I will say that I didn't give a crap. I thought he should have been able to use it. Whatever. He had built it to the specs of the Bass rules, and they still wouldn't let him use it. And I was like, ridiculous. I also think it's ridiculous that he didn't get to defend his classic title, even though he won the year they split, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
I'd forgotten that. Yeah.
he had to fish. The rules say you got to fish the elites, or I don't know if the rules said that at the time, but they were changed to say you've got to fish the Elite Series to defend your classic title, which was crap because Luke Clausen was an FLW guy who won the classic and got to come defend his title because they wanted him to come fish the elites. So they picked and choose. They didn't want Ott because he was going to the other side, because he was, even though it was FLW, blah, 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 it was still, it was just a mess in the split. So they used it as a punishment, I guess, not let him fish to defend. And I did not agree with that. One of the many reasons I'm not at Bass anymore. But it was a good show.
It's the back to school edition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. Max Kister returned to school today.
Yeah.
Hey, that was early.
And Adeline and Oliver Crank returned to school today.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys go back to school early.
That's kind of what I thought. But My wife was happy.
I'm sure.
Mine
She-
wasn't.
Well,
Yeah.
she teacher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say. And
Me
then
no
Poor
Colin,
talk.
it ends there.
my
wife stays at home
daughter-in-law,
dealing with them all
my
summer.
daughter-in-law is not. They start Monday, I think, and she was at the school last week while I had when I had Brooks, and Amelia was at church camp. That's what she was doing, was getting her classroom ready, and she did not want to hear one word about school this week. But
Well, Kiki, you have a new podcast chair. I'm kind of jealous.
Well, this is the one that's a little bit more comfortable than the wooden stool I was sitting on. So
I understand.
why
I'm
wouldn't
sitting
you
on a
sit
kitchen
on?
chair.
I was gonna say, why wouldn't you sit in that one all the time?
it's not. It screws my setup I have in my man cave. I can't sit in a low chair like this in my bar height dining table I have in here. So
No, Brian, you haven't missed anything. We might get off into that now. But before we do that, I would like to mention that I'm going to have Mr. Stewart and Mr. Crank as guests tomorrow night on the Clock with KBN to talk about their showing in the Frank Stong Memorial event tomorrow night at 7:00. Also going to have guys that won the Kansas Buddy Bassett Pommy last month on. So
Very cool.
have a little fishing wrap up tomorrow night.
Nice.
That is probably the coolest trophy, plaque, whatever there is right beside you, John.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, they're pretty sweet boards.
When I saw those, oh gosh, it was probably, I don't know, Memorial Weekend ish when John sent a picture of those and said, "What do you think of this?" And we were all like, "Oh my, yeah, cool, yeah, that's pretty awesome." Are you going to use those at the lodge? That's the question I have.
Sure.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
I mean, he has to let everybody know that stays there who won that year, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I may even add at the bottom underneath champions, John and Kyle.
Yeah.
Cool. So do you want to talk about it tonight?
I thought you guys were talking about it tomorrow.
Oh, maybe we should make everybody tune in tomorrow.
That's right. I kind of think that too.
Yeah, tune in tomorrow.
Tune in tomorrow night.
Where do they tune in at?
We're live on
Place.
same places, Kansas Bass Nation, and it also shares to YouTube. Gets us a little extra content. Maybe we'll get this thing monetized one of these days.
That'd be nice. How many followers do we have right now?
I don't know, 3. No, we're I think
How
we're
many
right
YouTube
We have
on
subscribers?
YouTube. I
60,
think
67.
yeah, 67.
67.
So we're just short of 1,000.
Man,
We need to get that to 100 at least. Please
We
go
can do
like our YouTube page.
yes. Can we get people? Can we at least get to 100?
Well, we might. You never know. Some of us get
Yeah.
bored in the wintertime in our garages, and we might start doing some informative stuff now and then.
That'd be
Texas
good.
Kiki needs to make a return.
Yeah.
Everybody's got that God-given talent. And maybe I need to start unleashing the fury on some people here.
Oh, you caught that.
Unleashing the fury.
Now we are talking.
You caught the little hint.
Hmm.
Yeah, Yeah, not anything here too soon. We got to get past November 1st, but
Got to get the boatyard cleared out, huh?
yeah.
How many shows is this? Can we figure that out? I think we should start numbering these because we're getting up there.
I was just going to say a lot.
I mean, what did we decide we did last year? Like 50? Because we took 2 weeks off or something like that? Or
I can't remember when it actually started. That's what I was trying to remember. What month or whenever it was.
Danny must know. He's counting.
Yeah, he's calculating.
This is number 32 this year.
This year.
So you've had to have done around what month did you guys start last year?
Okay, so we had in 2024 I've got 15 guests written down that starts in September with Chris Johnson. But before that, we can go back and count them. I mean, I can't do it now. I can do it later. Because we had Will Davis.
Mm-hmm.
We had Maddie Wong.
Yeah.
Scott Tossi was on one night. Moody.
Mark Moody.
Alex
Dominic
Torkelson was on.
Dominic.
Was on. Yeah. So this is probably, if I had to guess, I'd say we're at.
I think we started.
70.
Did we not start in?
Started the end of April.
End of April.
2024.
Yeah. And I think we pretty much had one every week until Christmas. Around Christmas, we took 2 or 3 off.
Yeah, so that should put it anywhere between 70 and 75 possibly.
Yeah.
We could actually hit 100.
We should have a car allowance by now.
Yes.
Taylor Swift should be on our show.
Can break the internet.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that totally caught me off guard the other day. Did any of you guys see that? See the live where Maddie Wong said he was hanging it up?
Yeah, I didn't watch it. I just saw the post afterwards.
Wow.
I mean, good for him though that he doesn't keep going to get so he gets in debt or whatever. Like Ott said, refusing to borrow money or whatever.
Right.
Because frankly, Maddie hasn't been having a great time or a great season. You know, so he's
not going to requalify.
No.
I think it wasn't necessarily that he was planning on it this year, but he kind of alluded to that was his future regardless anyway. I think when he was on our show.
He said like 5 years.
You know, he said it was going to be just whenever it happens, but he's not going to let it go for very much longer overall. And he has other plans.
And the way I took it, when he announced it the other day, he's moving back to Hawaii to do whatever it is he's going to do. And I think when he was on with us, he talked about doing a fishing show.
Yeah.
Or at least content. So
maybe we should have him back on, find out what he's going to do.
Cool. That's a cool idea.
I'd like that. He's a good guest.
Yeah. Bring him back on this winter or later this fall.
Yep. I think that'd be a good show.
Yeah. Watch him win this next one.
Yeah.
Just blow everybody away.
That'd be
because he's
be awesome.
I mean, he's already said he's quitting and he's moving and all this. And he's got nothing left and just lets her hang, man. It just,
what if he won? If he won, do you think he'd change his mind?
yeah.
100 grand in his pocket.
He'd be like, well, maybe one more year.
I mean, if he's not requalified, though, even with the win,
That's true. He'd have to go to the Opens, but
he would have to go try to requalify. I mean, I don't know where he is in the points. Would a win help him requalify?
I don't think so. I think he was. I don't want to say because I'm not 100% sure, but that would be cool if he did. I'd honestly like to see the Schlopper.
The old Schlopper.
oh yeah, the Schlop.
Let's see.
Is that a recliner, Kiki?
It's a outdoor rocking chair.
Mm.
I'm still jealous.
It's pretty comfortable.
Lucky.
It's not as comfortable as what I'm fixing to move to here in about 5 minutes, but
I understand.
close.
If he won, he could requalify.
Okay.
I think. He's got 300 and he's got 300 and he's got 303 points. 70th place is 377.
Biggest problem with that is the entire calculation of how they requalify is so hard to figure out if you're just a commoner. That
Well, if you make it in the certain number for this year, you requalify. And then after that, it comes down to average, like the last 5-year average or 3-year average.
and then you got all the exemptions.
You got some exemptions.
It's hard to keep up with.
It's very hard to keep up with. The automatic requalifications, like Blake Capps is in 102nd. Like he's in last place because Scott Martin and Matt Herron are out, and those are the only two below him. So Blake Capps is in last place, but he gets another year automatically.
Yeah.
He gets 2 years.
And you know what we talked about earlier, as far as, you know, your theory, and I don't have anything against it. I think you're right. But your theory on the guys that are going to be capable of building a career out of professional bass fishing, you know, 10, 20, 30-year careers, and the guys that you think are going to, in the future, only be able to maybe have a career of maybe 4 or 5 years. I think we could do an entire show on that because it just tears me up.
Yeah.
I mean, I could go on and on and on about that. It's just a disappointing fact.
Here's some like Ed. I mean, there's all kinds of people that aren't going to requalify.
And they're going to get replaced by guys that maybe only truly are able to be a pro for 2 or 3 years, and over the course of time, you know, I think it's going to kill the sport, or I don't know that it's going to kill it. I should say that differently. I think it's going to kill the viewership of who watches what.
Yeah. I mean, there's not going to be any. I mean, it's like Ott was saying about sponsorships. You know, all these guys have been around for a while and know how to go to know how to sell product are out. Are the sponsors, is Mercury going to stick with Mike Iaconelli, or he runs a Yamaha, but, whoever. The big names, even though they're out, how long are they going to stick with them? If they don't qualify, if they have to go back to the Opens or the Tackle Warehouse or the Invitationals or whatever, how long are they going to stick with them?
Yeah. I mean, it's like I said, I mean, we could do an entire show about it because it's just, there's so much that goes into a really fast rotational field that I don't like it.
It goes down farther. Like, you can't just look at the AOY standings and look at number 70 and say he's out, because that's not true. Because you gotta like Caleb Summerall is 75th place. He's probably, with his average and everything else, he's probably, and people not coming back, like, we don't know who's not going to come back yet.
True.
There may be more retirements. There may be more guys that say, I'm done with this. So all that's got to be figured in. And I just know that year after year, by the time it's all said and done, you typically get clear down into the 90s. Like, if you look at this year's AOY requalification, you typically, with all that you said, the exemptions, the the average, and then plus where you ended up this year, when you figure all that, it's almost always down into the 90s, because there was 103 when we started the year, or 104 when we started the year. There's 9, 10. There's 10 new people coming in. So that's 10. And then you got all the average. So it gets into the 90s, even though it's, people think you got to be in the top 70 to requalify. No. It gets down into the 90s. Like, I mean, Greg Hackney's 78. He's going to requalify, even though he's below the 70 line.
So now, on the other end of this little topic, before we go this evening, one of our kids, Brock Bila, he's at the Leech Lake Open that starts Thursday, and he needs to move up about 30 places to get to the EQs to try to get there.
Yeah.
I mean, and obviously we're going to support him. Yeah, you're right. Kiki, you're right. I mean, it's a change. We're definitely in a transition period in this industry.
It can go either way.
Yeah.
I feel like we kind of touched on it a little bit last week, where we talked about like the YouTube and social media stuff is where you're getting a lot of the content now, whereas it used to be where you would have to watch that Bassmaster episode on a Sunday or whatever it was, and that's the only way you got stuff. Well, now it's you can go to every person everywhere and see what they're doing, and that's how you're getting the content. The tournaments are almost second to the content they're producing.
Yep.
For them.
True.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I could go on and on and on.
Well, we can continue this next week.
Yeah, we can.
We definitely can. Maybe
That's
get
a good
playing some fishing memory videos that Crank's been trying to do for a year.
Yeah, we'll get there eventually.
Let's get out of here.
I don't have any videos, but I got a bunch of pictures.
Yes, you do. Yeah. I'm fried. I got to get up early. Tomorrow is my Monday.
All right.
Guys, thanks for watching. Those of you that are still here with us, we appreciate you. Tune in tomorrow night, 7 p.m. And maybe John and Kyle will tell you about Big Hill. Maybe.
I'm going to tell you about this one special tree.
A special tree. It's got a limb line tag on it. But Peace, man.